like that name, Twitch.
Hello, everyone. It's the first time we are streaming this class on YouTube. So welcome to all those new friends who are watching us.
Who don't know that you're on YouTube.
What?
Who don't know that you're on YouTube. They're looking for you on Facebook.
On Facebook. I'm going to send it to them. Don't worry. I will send it also on Facebook.
Might find a lot of people on YouTube.
Right? It's a whole new arena of people that we don't get connected to. So welcome to the weekly Tanya Class. We're having a Tanya Class every Monday morning, and it's great to learn together with friends and get to know ourselves, get to know our relationship with God. And this is what we do here every Monday morning, 10:30 to 11:30 approximately. Today, we're actually going to start a new chapter, chapter 39. Thank you, Garrett, for providing us with the Tanya online. So, second. So here we could, I could share the screen. 1 second. Then we will see it there in a clear way. And Yechiel, I know it might be a little too small, but
That's all right.
It's all right? Okay, good. I couldn't figure
I put on my glasses.
Okay, good. Okay, chapter 39. I'm excited to start a new chapter. This chapter is going to be a little bit different than what we are used to because of the languages we're going to use, the terms that we're going to discuss, and it's going to be a little more Kabbalistic. Who like Kabbalah? Good. Some terms that we use a lot of times in the learning of Chassidus, but we don't get to explain them so much. But includes that too, and this is a little bit what we're going to learn in this chapter. And of course, we are in middle of discussing the Kavanah part of our relationship with God. Up until chapter 38, we mainly discussed the technical part, the part that we do, the idea that in Judaism, what we do matters more than the action matters more than the spiritual. The main thing is just do it, do the mitzvah. What you feel about it is secondary. But in chapter 38, we started to learn a whole new realm to our relationship with God, to a whole new realm, a whole new perspective to the mitzvahs. And we start to learn that actually to just do the mitzvah without having a kavanah, without having the right intention, and to focus your mind on what you're doing, it might be a little bit, not a little bit, a lot of it, lacking the passion, lacking the excitement, and we even consider it to be as a body without a soul, meaning it's not alive. It's not an action which is alive. And we discussed, what kind of kavanah we should have, and in general, we spoke about 4 different categories that are found in the world, right? Remember the difference between doimem, tzemeach, chai, medaber, the difference between the world of inanimate objects, vegetables, animals, and human. So while the first 2 are the lifeless, or the not so lively, you don't see the life force in them in a major way. The other 2, animals and humans, over there we see the life, we see the ability of moving around, we see the ability of intellect, we see the ability of choice, we see the ability of feelings. And this is kind of Alter Rebbe generalized 2 different kind of kavanah. There's a kavanah of an animal kavanah and a human medaber kavanah, which is animal is, and this is important to because this is going to be connected directly to what we're going to speak about today. So let's just remind ourselves of what it is. Chaya, a animal, is a creature which is an instinct based and nature based. They're wired to do things different in a specific way, and they have no way to change it. No understanding is going to change it. No choice will be able to go against their nature. They are very much wired to do what they do, and that's how they operate. They do have some feelings, but their feelings are very, again, nature-based, and they're very general. It's either I like it or I hate it, okay? I like something, or it creates some kind of a desire by the animal because it's good for them, so they like it, so they want it. Or they know that another thing is dangerous for them, and that creates some kind of a distance. They're trying to distance themselves from it. That's in general the main feelings that animals have. And we spoke about it in our Avodas Hashem, in our service of God, that we have the feelings and emotional associations with Hashem and with Torah and mitzvahs. We also have it in two different ways. There is the natural feelings, emotions that we all have as Jews, and this is what we spoke about in chapter 18 to 25. The Ava Tivis, we call it, the endowment love that is natural to every Jew. But then comes the more powerful love, which is the love, the emotions that is being created or being born out of an intellectual process. An intellectual process of thinking about God, understanding God in as much as we can, focusing, meditating. All this process is going to get us to a much more powerful and born emotions, which will get us in a much higher place. Today, we're going to talk about these four elements or four categories, and mainly we'll start with the last two, which is animals and in human. We're going to talk about it more in Kabbalic terms, all right? And we're going to see how in Kabbalah, in the spiritual worlds, we also find four different categories, and we'll see that based on the way we do our mitzvahs, that determines who we are, and that determines where our neshama will be belong to, during our lifetime, and where we will be belonged to after 120 years. Okay, so before we start, let me ask you a question. Who is more powerful? Who is higher? A human being, a Jew, or an angel? Who is more powerful? What do you think?
In what way?
In what way? In the way of their relationship to God, in the way of how they express it, in the way of their spirituality, inclination, spiritual inclination.
Well, angels have probably no bechira.
Okay.
They have no free will. They only do what they.
And therefore,
if you have free will, that kind of puts you above that level of not having free will.
okay, beautiful. So you're suggesting that the neshamas, the Jews, that human beings are higher than neshamas, than malachim, than angels. They're above angels. If there is hierarchy, okay, then we'll put neshamas above the angels.
I would say that's only true in potential,
but
in practice, usually not.
Okay, that's interesting. You're saying in practice we don't get any close to their service of God?
I think that's pretty obvious. But in potential, I think sure we can.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Okay, so but you both say a very true point, and today we're going to explain it at length. Surprisingly, we find that neshamas are higher and more powerful than malachim, than angels. They have much more many more functions that malachim do not have. In general, we say every day in the davening, "V'oifanim v'chayos hakodesh." Right? How do we call the angels? Chayos hakodesh. How would you translate chayos hakodesh?
Chaya would be a wild animal, I guess, is a chaya.
Right. So the holy animals, I guess, right?
The holy wild animal.
The holy wild animal. Okay, so let's leave the wild away. And we'll stay with animals. So we call angels chayos, animals. When we learn the prophets, the prophecy of the prophets, we see, for example, the prophet of Yechezkel. He's calling the different prophecy visions that he sees. What did he see? Pnei Aryeh. He see a lion's face. He sees an ox face. He see an eagle face. We call animals, we call spiritual creatures, we call it by the name of animal. What is that? What about in animals? So angels share very interesting common denomination between with animals. Again, what is animal? An animal is a creature which is wired to do what they do. They wire to behave the way they behave, and they wire to feel the way they feel. They cannot change it. And generally, the way you change your nature, the way you go against your nature will be either by choosing to go against your nature, even if it doesn't make sense, or deciding based on an intellectual understanding or a decision that this is the right thing to do. Animals do not have this possibility. They don't have this function. A lion cannot decide to stop behave like a lion. And if their nature is causing them to, for example, the Gemara is telling us that an eagle is compassionate, an eagle cannot decide to be not compassionate. And the eagle cannot behave in a way which is not compassionate. An eagle cannot be brutal. An eagle cannot be cruel. It just can't. Why? Because it's wired to be this way. Animals is very similar. Angels are very similar. They are very lofty creatures. And they're extremely spiritual. They don't even have a body, right? They don't experience our world's experiences. They don't have the challenges and the conflicts and the problems that we deal with. Definitely not. And they are wired to do exactly what they do. They serve God tremendously. They could be in missions from God, but they cannot change it. This is natural, and this is how they were created. Where do we see it? We see it in a very interesting way in a story in the Torah. One of the things that cause that, one of the things which is coming from, which is a byproduct of doing things by nature, is that if you're doing things just because of your nature and your intellect is not involved, you will not be able to do two opposite things at the same time. We have the ability to do two opposite things at the same time. I could decide to behave with compassion to one person, and at the same time to be tough to another person. And why? Because it makes sense for me. It makes sense that this person deserves toughness and this person deserves compassion, and I could behave the same way. An animal does not have that. If you are compassionate, you're compassionate to everyone. If you're cruel, you're cruel to everyone. Intellectual decisions and scenarios are not going to change anything.
Can an animal be trained, though? I mean, I know
animals could be trained, yes, but it's not. It's a very limited amount of, meaning their training could go only so far. You know the story with
The
the
cat.
different what with a cat and
With a trained cat, yeah.
right. So what does that tell you? At the end of the day, if there's something which is
I don't know
really
the story.
rooted in nature, well,
And
you
the
don't know
mouse-
the nature story,
If a mouse comes by, the cat will go back to being a cat.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. So without going into the details of the story about the a rabbi, the different opinions who he was, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, whatever it was, that he was trying to. There was an argument if people could actually if what was that over there that if animals could change their nature. Anyways, he basically argued that they can't, and basically came to a meal where basically they presented the argument, and they had cats which served as waitresses, and they were like beautifully dressed with with what's it called with different ties and
Uniforms.
what in uniforms, and they were serving, and they were like serving food and giving people drinks. It was like very, very well trained. But then he didn't know what to answer. But then he opened his shmek tabak, the tobacco that Jews used to smell when they were stressful. So he opened his the box, and from this box jumped a little mouse. And the second the cat saw the mouse, all the cats just dropped everything on the floor and started running after it. And it was the greatest proof that you could train animals. They have the intellectual capacity, but it's very limited. You can really change a nature, and whatever. And even when they behave this way, it's not because it's also part of their nature to behave this way. But anyways, the idea is that if an animal is wired to be a specific way, they will be a specific way. It's not going to be changeable. What do we see it? Where do we see it in a story in the Torah, which is related to malachim, to angels? So we're all familiar with the story of the parsha of Vayera, when the 3 angels are coming to visit Avraham. Abraham, our father, is recovering from his circumcision, and 3 angels are coming to visit him. The Torah is telling us what was the mission of these 3 angels. One of them came to
Heal Avram.
heal him from the circumcision. The other one was to tell him about Sarah being that Sarah will have a son, although she is 90 years old. And the third one came to destroy Sodom and Amorah. Okay, so they came 3 together, and the question is, why are you sending 2? Why are you sending 3? Why can't God just send one malach, one angel, to take care of everything? I mean, it's not such a complicated mission. I mean,
Well, the problem is they have a union.
what they have what?
They have a union, and the union tells them what they can and cannot.
Right, exactly. So given that they don't have
Angels
a
killed.
union, and God could just decide that one person could do it all. What not person, one angel could do it all. What's the idea here with the three different angels? I mean, you gotta pay them per person. So the
If you have
explanation
dealt with a union, you know
exactly
what I'm
that.
talking about.
What?
If you have ever dealt with a union, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I haven't really, but I heard about it. Anyway, so the explanation is exactly that. An angel, which his mission is to destroy Sodom, cannot heal Avraham. He just can't work together. Why? Because he is an angel of destruction. He's an angel which is coming from Gevurah, from toughness. He's not an angel which is coming from a place of chesed, of kindness. It's 2 different things. And the angel that is telling Avraham that Sarah will have a child, this is an angel which has to do with nisim, with miracles. It's not a natural thing like healing. So what am I trying to bring out? That every angel has their unique mission and they can't change it. Why? Because they don't have the intellectual capacity to change it. They're wired to be this way, and therefore they are stuck with it. So although they're highly spiritual creatures, we just call them an animal. We don't call them human. Why? Because in that way they are lower than human. They don't have the ability to do it themselves. They do it just because this is their nature.
Chayes HaKodesh.
Chayes HaKodesh, exactly. That's what we call them. Okay, now let's see it inside, and we will continue. Says Alter Rebbe, chapter 39 is going to be in page 188 in the English, 189 in the Hebrew. Very easy to find at the beginning of chapter 39. Says Alter Rebbe like this: for this reason too, for this reason too. Now, what is this reason? What are we talking about? We're talking about the difference between chai and medaber, between animal and human. That animal is wired to be who it is, and a human has the ability to create new emotions by intellectual activity. So Alter Rebbe like this, and for this reason too, Nikroim HaMalochim v'shem chayos ubehemois. The angels are called chayot, ubehemois, and animals. Kedechsiv, as we see it, as is written, and this is in the prophets, upnei aryeh el hayamin, upnei shomer hasmol v'gomer, meaning we called angels. The prophet Yechezkel is saying that he saw an angel with the face of a lion in the right and the face of an ox in the left. Why do we call them animals? For they have no freedom of choice. Now their love and fear, meaning their emotions towards God, and therefore the service that they serve God with these emotions, is natural to them. They don't need to create it. They don't need to work hard on it. This is the way they wired to be. Just like a normal animal will run away from fire, right? And a normal animal will run to grab some food. Each animal, the food that works for them. But the idea of this is something that I could enjoy, this is something which is beneficial for me, that's why I want it and I like it and I will get closer to it. And this is something which is dangerous for me, therefore I will run away. An animal doesn't have to work on it, right? It's coming natural. There's no challenges there. Which is written in the book of Raya Mehemna, in the portion of Pinchas. This is a book of Kabbalah. And here comes the surprise that Alter Rebbe is saying, and therefore, Velochein malas at tzaddikim gedoyla mehem. Tzaddikim, and here when we call about tzaddikim, we remember what the Mishnah is telling us: Ve'amech kulam tzaddikim, that the nation of Israel, they are all considered to be tzaddikim. Meaning, in that sense, we are all called tzaddikim, which means we have, as Megaret said, the potential. The potential of a neshama is to be a much higher than a malach, than an angel. And I would add here, Garrett, and we will see it a little later in the chapter, that it's not just in potential. Meaning, of course, it's coming from our potential, but when we act of this potential, and we always do, we're actually higher than malachim. Why am I saying that? Because, Yechiel, is that you?
Yeah, I've hit the wrong button.
Oh, okay. What we say about potential doesn't just mean that we have to wait until we climb the ladder and we became the best of the best, right? And then we're higher than malachim. No. Even when we are the way we are today, when we do a mitzvah, it's much more valuable. Any mitzvah that we do, it's much more valuable than the service of God, the malachim, that the angels are doing. And for a very simple reason. It's no wonder that the angels are serving God. What do you expect? What do you expect? What's the big deal? Of course. This is what they're wired to do. It's amazing.
They're doing the
You
job.
have to learn from it. But of course, what's the question? What they don't deal with anything. They don't have any challenges. They don't have any temptations. They don't have any desire. This is what they do. Would you praise an animal for running away from fire? A human being, we get into a much more nuanced situation. When we do a mitzvah, or when we are avoiding a sin, we are working on ourselves. We are doing something which might be unnatural. Imagine if you are hungry, okay, and you really need to eat something. Your nature, your nefesh abamis, right, your animal soul, your nature will be just grab whatever it is that's in front of you and eat it, right? This is what an animal will do. But you're saying no, because I know that this is not for me. I mean, starting to involve your intellectual ability, and you decide that you're not going to touch it. Well, this is huge. It's huge. This is something that a neshama cannot have. That an angel does not have. They say a story. I don't know if it ever happened or not, but it's a cute story about a guy who became Baal Tshuva, who came back and started to be more observant and do more mitzvahs. And as he went through the process, it became very hard. A lot of things that he used to do, he can't do anymore. And he expected the process to be a much easier one, and it wasn't. There was a lot of challenges, a lot of temptations, a lot of pushback. And at the point of truth, he went to his rabbi and he burst his heart to the rabbi, and he's like, I really did not expect this. Why did God put us in so many challenges? What's the idea? You want me to be close to you, so do it. It should be easy for me. Why everything is about challenges and I have to really work hard? What's happening here? I can't stand it no more. So the rabbi looked at him and asked, what are your hobbies? So the rabbi knew that he's an artistic person. He likes art. I told him I love art. I love paintings. I'm going crazy. So he asked him, "Oh, that's nice. What is the most expensive piece of painting that you have in your house?" The guy's like going, "Oh, this is something actually very expensive. A beautiful painting of the sunset and people standing and looking at the sunset. An amazing piece of art. I bought it. Really, it was very expensive. I really cherish it. It's beautiful. Please come to my house. I want to show it to you." Rabbi told him, "Sure." He came to the house and the rabbi looked at it. It's really beautiful. And then the rabbi asked him, "Tell me, how much would it be to buy a picture of the same scenario? Same scenario. You got the sunset. You got the people looking at it. Everything looks beautiful. The same colors. It's a picture of the original, not the original art. A picture of the original scene. How much would it be to buy it?"
Even better than a painting. It's
Of course better. Of course better. But in painting, you have the scratch here, scratch there. It can't be like the original. But how much would it be to buy the original piece of the scene? The guy looked at him. I don't know. Probably would be. You could find it in Google for free, or if you want to print it, it will be another few bucks. So Rabbi asked him, one second. It doesn't make any sense for me. One second. You paid tens of thousands of dollars for this piece of art, and I could get something better than this for $5. How can this make? How can it make sense? The guy looked at him. Come on, Rabbi. I thought you were better than that. In a picture, it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful, but there's nothing there. There's no work there. It's very dry. There's no they know some, someone didn't put their life into it.
No
Someone
feeling.
didn't put their talent into it. It's nature. But this piece of art, can you imagine that a person did it by themselves? They worked on every little detail and it looked just like the original. Rabbi looked at him and said, no, do you understand? Yes, God created angels. And the angels are beautiful. Perhaps someone would say this is the original. Not really, but someone could say this is the original. Look at this. This is how a creature is serving their creator. But it doesn't worth any close to what a person, to what a human being is doing, even if their art is not getting even close to the beautiful picture. Because in the art, you put yourself into it. You're expressing yourself. You're going through the challenges. You're going through the contrast of the different colors, and you gotta find the right balance. And you gotta spend a lot of time, a lot of effort into it. And that's why it's more valuable, even if it looks a little less beautiful. And this is, I believe, what the Alter Rebbe is referring to here. The neshama, even if it's not fulfilling its potential, even if the artwork is not that beautiful, even if it's very basic, very elementary, it's still worth more than a done picture. And an angel is like a picture. It's nature. It's expected to be this way. It's beautiful. It's awesome. But it's not powerful. Meaning, it could be powerful, but it's not. It cannot as powerful as a work of a human being. Said Alter Rebbe, again, therefore, malas at tzaddikim g'dolim mayem. Tzaddikim are in a higher level than them, than the angels. Key, and now we're getting a little bit more into Kabbalah. Madoy nishmitz tzaddikim. The abode of the souls of the tzaddikim. Bria, in the world of Bria, which is creation, and the angels are found in Olam HaYetzira. And we're going to skip this shaded box for a minute. What's the difference between the world of Bria and the world of Yetzira? I will explain it in a minute. כי באוילום היצירה מאירס שם מדויסוב שלא יצריף ברוך הוא לבדו, שאם אהבסי ופחדוי וירוסי וכולו, because in the world of Yetzirah, only the midas, only the emotions, so to speak, of God radiate there, meaning the love of Him and the fear of Him, and so on. That the nest of the midas nest in the world of Yetzirah. All right. That's we gotta explain this, right? Okay. In general, Kabbalah is telling us about. Let me know if these terms are familiar to you. So we speak about the 10 sephiras. Got it? 10 sephiras, right? You heard about it?
Yes.
And then we got.
I don't say I understand it, but I heard about it.
What do you say?
I didn't say I understood it. I said I heard about it.
Okay, we'll try to explain it. And then we speak about the 4 worlds. Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya. Remember this?
Sure.
Okay, so we have 10 sephiras, 10 spheres, we'll call it, and then 4 worlds. Let's explain each one of them. What are the 10 spheres? The 10 spheres are 10 ways of God, of Hashem, communicating and expressing Himself in the world. Just like in our, it says, when you look at yourself, you could see God. What does that mean? God is saying when God was created Adam, He tells the Malachim, Naise Odom B'Salmeinu, right? God is creating man in the image of God. When we look at ourselves, we learned in the beginning of Tanya, we have 10 soul powers. We made out of 10 soul powers, which are 3 intellectual powers and 7 emotions. If you remember, we have the three intellectual powers: is Chokhmah, Bina, and Das. Chokhmah is the beginning of everything, the idea that I got it, it's clear to me. Bina is taking the seed of the idea and developing it, understanding it. And Das is taking an idea and making it relevant to me in a way that I could start feeling an emotional association to the thing that I understand or the thing that I get in my mind. And then comes the 7 emotional association, emotion powers, which is chesed, gevura, kindness and severity, tiferes, compassion, netzach, hoid, yesod, and malchus. Each one of them, we already explained it at length, but each one of them is responsible for different function that we have in ourselves. The ability to be kind, the ability to be tough, the ability to be compassionate, which is a combination of toughness and kindness. Meaning, if kindness is to give to everybody, toughness is let's look at a person and evaluate them if they're ready for it or not. Compassion is coming and saying, well, they don't deserve it, but I will give them anyways because I have compassion to them. And then we have the ability of victory, of overcoming challenges. Gratitude, this is hoid, gratitude, humility, understanding there's something greater than me. Yesoid, the ability to bond with others, and malchus, to actually translate our emotions into actions or into speech, to talk about it. This is in general the way we operate, and this is coming from Hashem. This is the way God created the world. In the world, and as we're going to see in any world, in the ishtalshelus, in the chain of worlds, the way a world works is in these 10 ways. 10 ways that God is expressing himself, meaning there is a way God can express himself in a way of kindness, and then there is severity, toughness. That's why you see, it's midas chesed and midas adin, and midas rachamim. You have different kind of midas, of attributes that we are trying to, when we daven. When we daven, we got to use different things, because when we daven, we don't ask God that, oh, please evaluate me and give me what I deserve. You're asking God to give you something that even if you don't deserve, right? So there are just different ways how God is expressing himself, so to speak, in the world. God forbid it not to say that we're limiting God to these 10 things. This is just 10 ways that God chooses to interact with the world. All right, is that clear so far? This is just in short. Of course, we could learn about it at length. We could explain each one of them, what it is, what comes from it, what flows from it, but this is for a different time. Now, after that, let's talk about the 4 worlds. The 4 worlds are Atzilus, which is the world of, how would you say Atzilus? Call it Atzilus for now.
What's Atzilus?
Atzilus is the highest of worlds, and this is the way it's called Atzilus because it's the world which is the closest to Hem, meaning in the formation of worlds, this is the first one which in this world what shines, what is clear is just God, nothing else. The next world is the world of Bria, which is the world of creation. Over there, it's already starting to, something else is being created, not something else. Of course, it's all part of God, but it's already so to speak, a different identity being created. Yetzira is when this identity becomes, this entity start to get its form, and Asiya is when this entity becomes something completely on its own. Just to make it a little more understandable, I believe a few months ago we already explained it. These 4 worlds are very similar to the process of creating a new life, process of pregnancy.
Where are you going now?
You look at a child, in order for a child to be born, to be just a regular human being here, there was this little child went through 4 different levels in the process of becoming a person. The first is being part of the parents, meaning before it got its own entity, before the union of the parents even happened, when the child was part of the parents, of the father's brain and of the mother's system. Bria is when these parts got together and conception happened. And then it's already starting to a embryo, or whatever way you call it at that point, is starting to be developed. It's starting to create, but there's no development yet. There is no body. There's no buildup of a baby. It's just something. It's the beginning. And then through 9 months of pregnancy, this little thing becomes developed and gets its form. It's being formed into a functional human being. And then, so this is the world of Yetzirah. And then comes the moment of birth. And what do we celebrate at birth? What do we celebrate at birth? The baby was already completed before. We celebrate the first moment that this baby could breathe on his own and could be independent. Well, and being independent means that in a few years, this little child could actually look back and say, oh, I don't even know who my parents are, right? Although just before they were part of the parents. So I think this is a nice way to bring out the 4 levels. Atzilus is when the child is still part of the parents. There's no child. You look here, it's just a parent. The parent also has inside of them the ability or the potential, or for the child. Bria is already the start of the child in a very, very start level. And then comes Yetzirah, which is being this little embryo and grows to be a fetus. And then the world of Asiya is when this little baby becomes a real baby and becomes independent. All right? And that makes it a little more clear. So this is a formation of the worlds in general. But more than that, we say every day in the prayer, Elokai neshama, ato veros, Elokai neshama shanasata bi tehoiroi, right? The neshama that I have is pure. Ato berosa, you have created it. Ato yetzarto, ato nefachto bi, and you gave it to me. You blew it into me. And this is basically the 4 levels, because each neshama also went through this process from becoming the pure chelek elika, piece of God, to become a part, to become a living being in this world. You got to go through this process, and this is the process of Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. Now, we spoke about the 10 Sephiros and the 4 worlds. What is the relationship between the 10 Sephiros and the 4 worlds? How does that work together? Well, in every world, you got 10 Sephiros on its own. Meaning the way every world is operating, is functioning, is through these 10 Sephiros. You have the 10 Sephiros of the world of Atzilus. You have the 10 Sephiros of the world of Bria. Every world has its own intellectual kind of faculty and emotional faculty, which means that the tools that God is using to interact at this specific level. Now, in addition to that, and I hope this is not confusing you too much, in addition to every world having its own 10 Sephiros, the 10 Sephiros of the world of Atzilus, of the first world, are being kind of distributed or spread apart over the rest of the world, which means in every world shines a specific sephira, a specific tool that God is using. For example, what do I mean? In the world of Atzilus, what shines mainly, what is the main sephira which shines there is Chachma, which means Chachma is it's mainly about myself. It's about the person. It's very much the person himself. The most intimate part of the person is Chachma, when things are clear in your mind. Bina, which is the ability to understand and to comprehend things, is mainly shining in the world of Bria. Because what is the world of Bria? Creation. This is the beginning already when there is a start of creation. So there is a start of something or someone which could know God, which could learn about God, which comprehend God, which could try to comprehend God. In Chachma, there is no one else, just God. Bina is already connected to the world, which is Bria, which is there is a start already of something, and this something that is being created here is going to know God using the Bina part. And then comes the world of Yetzirah, which is over there. What shines over there is the emotions of God. Meaning this is the place where, meaning that as we're going to see, the creatures over there are emotional creatures. They have emotions. It's not about action. It's not about understanding. It's about emotions. Relationship to God towards emotion. It's through emotion. And Asiya is a relation. Is what shines in Asiya is Malchus, the last part, which is the communication ability that, so to speak, God has, which is making it actual and technical. And this is the world that we live in, where we serve God in a very technical way, although we should strive to do it also in a more emotional and passionate way. Anyway, so this is in general kind of a little bit of introduction in order to understand the rest of the chapter in a better way. Yes, Garrett.
I'm just wondering, in the Hebrew edition of the Tanya, that is kind of standard. Does it have this like extra commentary, like we have in this English translation? These boxes with commentary, like do they have that kind of expand?
I mean, it's not part of the original, and the original Tanya is in the Hebrew is just what you see the Hebrew here. It's not there's no further explanation, and therefore when you learn Tanya, there's a lot of explanation needed, and I'm trying my best to do it. Anyways, but I see already we probably wouldn't have enough time to go ahead and continue after this introduction. So just kind of the point, what we're trying to bring is that since we spoke about angels being emotional creatures, right? Creatures which are wired to be specific ways. Their place is in the world of Yetzirah. The world of Yetzirah is an emotional world. This is where the relationship with God is an emotional based. Tzaddikim, neshamas, those who have the ability to understand God, to comprehend to the best of our ability, and work through our intellect. Of course, that this intellect brings emotions, but it's an intellect-based emotions and not natural-based emotions. This is the function of the world of Bria, and this is where the neshamas are coming to. This is where the neshamas are, and we're going to see later that based on how we do our mitzvahs, this is going to determine where our mitzvahs will go. What kind of relationship would I have with God? Is it going to be a relationship of just technical? Is it going to be a relationship which is more an emotional relationship? Is it going to be a relationship which is intellectual? And this will determine where our neshama is. But there's much more to learn, so we'll just leave it for next week. All right? Good. I hope I didn't confuse you too much.
No.
Anything which is not clear, please let me know.
Possibly confuse me any more than I already am.
Okay, if there's any questions or comments, please let me know. Otherwise, I just wanted also to mention tomorrow we will be back at our Torah on Tuesday's class. Fascinating topic from this week's Torah portion about breaking the tablets. Why did Moses break the tablets? Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Hope you could join us. All right. Have a great week ahead. We'll see ya. And
You
Yechiel,
too.
enjoy your company.
Thank you.
Yechiel, I will try
Thank
to
you.
give you a call later today if
All right.
if you have time. Okay.
I'm always open.
Good. All right. All the best, guys.
Y'all
And
have a great day now.
Okay.
yes, hopefully. And Garrett, I have to talk to you too. So be prepared.
Don't feel left out.
No,
You
don't
got-
feel left out because I have to talk to you both.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, Garrett, is your phone like on and available?
Yeah.
Good. So I will try also to call you a little later today. And
Okay.
just a quick question to see if something that we could work together and about our chavlisa.
Oh, cool.
All right, we'll be in touch, guys.
Okay.